Sure.
Well, I think Greece has been hit by economic hitmen. There's no question. You know, it's the same old story. It started with Iceland back a couple of years ago, and then it moved into Europe. Ireland has gone through something very similar, and now Greece, and there's other countries that may experience something along these same lines. So, absolutely, Greece was taken advantage of. It was put in this position where it took on tremendous amounts of debts. And now its economy is falling, and so the discussion is all about, refinancing the debt. And essentially what I'm hearing today is, and you may be hearing something, you probably have more current news being in Greece than I do, but the news that I'm getting here in the United States today is an attempt to restructure the debt so that it'll be paid off over a much longer period of time. That Greece will pay off its debt over a longer period of time. But certainly in that process, Greece is going to be asked to agree to what we call conditionalities. Greece is going to be asked to give up a lot of things in order to make that happen. It's a typical economic hitman approach to bringing countries within the corporatocracy's realm.
So would you say that some politicians have been subjected to coercion, perhaps, to have the situation now here, or they've been collaborating with these people, or what's your assessment on how this thing happened exactly?
Well, I'm not in Greece. I've never actually worked in Greece. I've been to Greece. I love Greece, but only been there kind of as a tourist. But I have no doubt that there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes attempts to strike deals with great politicians and big businessmen in the banking community, quid pro quos, deals made, and also threats. I imagine some of your political leaders are being threatened, and they're getting the message that the head of the IMF also has received. So by doing what we did to Strauss-Kahn, it certainly sent a very strong message to anybody in Ireland or Greece or Iceland or Portugal or Spain or any of the other countries, to any leader that's considering standing up to the pressures of the corporatocracy. This sends a very strong message.
So, but you say that this is a simultaneous attack in various countries throughout Europe, not a Greek case specifically, of course.
Well, we know what's happened in Ireland, and similar types of situations at varying degrees, and similar types of situations have happened in Portugal and Spain, and sure, it's been happening around the world for that matter.
But what people cannot, I want to get a little bit more specific, because people cannot perceive much of economics and how these functions operate. We have supposedly a Western system of government and banking. Why, you have ultranational societies, perhaps like the Bilderberg Group, perhaps, where people, bankers, people of power gather and discuss matters. Why would they? Is this a let's say, banking or inter-capitalist, or how would you, inter-Western conflict, or undercover, or is it something else?
Well, the world is changing very rapidly. The United States is losing power. I don't think there's any question about that. And the power more and more is falling into the hands of big corporations, multinational corporations. And in order for them to maintain their power, whether it's in Europe or the United States or the Middle East or China or Latin America for that matter, in order for the corporations to stay in power, they're going to rely upon a worldwide central banking system and a stable currency that can be in play globally. They need that in order to be successful as corporate controllers, the corporatocracy. So at the same time, there's a tremendous pressure for change. Latin America, in the last decade, less than 10 years, 10 countries in Latin America have elected presidents who in varying degrees are standing up to the corporatocracy, and these have been democratic elections in countries that for most of my lifetime, were run by brutal dictators, put into power by the CIA and kept there by the CIA. And now the Middle East is exploding. China is rising in new ways. So there's this very strong undercurrent of resistance around the world. And when that happens, the powers to be, the status quo, digs in harder and stronger. And so I think at this point what we're seeing is that the corporatocracy is doing everything in its power to undermine any countries that might threaten the corporatocracy, and at the same time to establish these, as strongly as they can, a one-world currency, which at this point is the dollar, and we're certainly seeing a weakening of the euro as a result of what's going on in Europe, and also to establish a global central banking system.
So this is like the first